So thank you, KingMakers IAS.
I'm happy.
Okay.
I wish you
Thank
very
you, sir.
best.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, KingMakers IAS. I would really like to thank Mr. D.P. Agarwal sir for helping me and guiding me in the interview stage. So thank you, KingMakers IAS, because these interactions were very helpful in finding the direction.
I've been teaching Indian art and culture for 12 years now, sir. So from 11 years now, to be honest. This is the 12th year which is running. And in my entire coaching guidance of art and culture, I always keep getting one, what I call fear psychosis among students. कि art and culture नहीं होता sir, डर लगता है. I mean, that's one aspect which actually students have. I mean, what I think with art and culture is it's actually a very easy syllabus. Most people tend to spoil it by over preparation. This is actually not an independent subject in itself. This is an associate subject with our history and with our current affairs. And most people try to prepare art and culture without these two. That's the reason actually we do not even have it's a proper prescribed book type of thing for art and culture, because it's not a standalone in itself. So, sir, to be honest, in this exam, I mean, as we've been saying, as we keep saying always, we are not here to become an Indologist. We are not here to learn everything about Indian culture, Indian art, etc. There is very limited requirement for this exam, very precise, and UPSC, at least with this particular subject, has been very honest in its approach. So with mains also, it literally stays to that art, literature, architecture dimensions only. It has not tried to play up too many things everywhere, unlike how they do with other subjects. Yes, with prelims, this subject is definitely a challenge, sir. As the word itself says, it is art, it is culture, and it is also heritage. Art part is purely factual. I always believe, sir, that even for all the students here, please understand, you will only remember a fact if you attach an emotion to the fact. See, 90% of you, in fact, 99% of you remember your parents' birthdays, your sibling birthday, your best friend's birthday, and your enemy's birthday. Because all the four are part of your emotional quotient. Here also, that's the only way. There is no other, because this is facts. Let's be honest. This is purely facts. And for your prelims, you need it. Art part, the pure art, and art part has one more beauty. It is not connected to your history. Like classical dances, music, the religion, the philosophy part, the performing arts, theaters, Indian cinema. These are standard subjects. These are like standard standalone chapters. You can just refer to current affairs as your source point. So use current affairs. See, for example, take this year. This year, if you observe, there have been 2 extra UNESCO sort of sites. And UPSC behavior over the last few years has been is, they won't ask you what is the UNESCO site asked today. They'll rather try to check you about ASI, about Hoysala temples, or about what is UNESCO, international dimension, those. So please use current affairs to study art. Don't just get into one of those books and start, rattamaru. I mean, from morning to evening, you take up a book and then you're doing this A for apple, B for ball, A for apple. That won't work. That's never going to happen with art part. Classical dances, music, religion, theater, cinema, musical instruments, these parts. This is the art part. This second major section of this preparation is your culture part. See, please understand, culture is an intangible entity. In fact, most of your culture you study with your history, societal patterns, festival patterns, or for example, why there are cultural pockets in India. There was a mains question where they asked that India is a homogeneous culture along with cultural pockets. This is something you can't actually just take a book and start studying. This part is something you will actually understand once you read your history part properly and you try to understand what is happening. That analytical understanding is very important in art and culture, particularly when it comes to mains. All mains questions have been like this. Or there is other part which is architecture. Like for example, why a particular stone is used in Saurashtra, or why Indus Valley people used only stone in Saurashtra but not stone in Indus Valley. These type of questions where you're supposed to think. UPSC is actually expecting you to do that behavior with art part, with culture part. Coming to the third section, which is the heritage part. Now, this is purely again based on current affairs. 1 to 1.5 year, what is happening, or what has happened, or what has been happening. Keep a note of it, cover it, continue it, and make your own notes. See, my suggestion for all students with Indian art and culture is there are two major sources. One is Google, the other is newspaper. If something is coming in newspaper, use the newspaper and Google that information, make a mind map for yourself. I've always insisted, particularly with art and culture, given that it's a factual type of syllabus where 70% is facts, 30% is the information or strategy or information or content. This 70% facts, please make your own mind maps. And with art and culture, only your personal notes will help you. There is no one-stop shop standalone book. See, there is one which is well popular. Okay, students do study, but that won't help you in the long term, particularly in the mains answers. Particularly in the mains answers. Repeat, make your notes, revise, and continue this cycle. Repeat, make your notes, revise, and keep doing this. As I said, current affairs and what you studied in your history. These two are your source points for what you want to study in your art and culture. Unlike history, we don't even have a sort of a predefined syllabus structure also here. So whatever most people are now referring are essentially coming from your some materials or some books. But Indian art and culture is actually an extremely dynamic subject. And in this particular preparation, two important, I could say, remembrance that I asked students to keep is number one, every year there's been about 10 to 12 questions which have been coming, core art and culture questions. There will always be 3 to 4 questions which you will not be able to answer because the range is extremely high. Don't stress on actually spending too much time on answering that one or two questions. There'll be one or two questions which are absolutely weird questions. That's okay. They do come. The second part is when you're preparing, when you're writing, when you're making your notes, please understand that your notes can also keep getting updated. Like this, since it is completely parallel to current affairs, like Padma Awards or Bharat Ratnas or say particular film awards or particular updates about the largest site of Indus Valley civilization. We used to say Mohenjo-daro from NCRT. Now we say Rakhi Gari, and that is still happening. So Rakhi Gari is now coming as the largest. So that's an evolutionary, evolving sort of story. So that part, keep updating yourself. Current affairs plays an extremely important role in your art and culture preparation. Okay. Now, when it comes to mains answer writing with art and culture, this is where students actually create some challenges for themselves. Two rules. Answer what is asked, not what you know. Don't answer what you know. Answer only what is asked. Number one. Number two, unlike other subjects, when it comes to art and culture, there is no golden rule of bullet points or paragraphs or diagrams or flowcharts or tables. There is no rule. As comfortable as it is for you to answer the question. in this particular answer writing sessions or in this particular subjects of art and culture, don't try to overdo it. Don't just try to answer in paragraphs or answer in this or answer in that. That you might want to avoid that part. Questions do come. Like, for example, if you understand over the last 4 years, there's one question which came, which has been, you can say, repeating in a different dimension. Number one, like Gandhara School of Art and Mathura School of Art, Roman influences in Gandhara School of Art, Central Asian influences in Gandhara School of Art, and differences between Gandhara and Mathura School of Art, contributions of Shatavahana to Amravati School of Art or School of Architecture. So these type of questions, you may feel that, if it's a 150 word answer, chances are you may end up answering less than 150 words. If you answer exactly what is asked, don't worry about the word limit when it comes to art and culture questions. With art and culture, you are strictly only supposed to answer what is asked, what is checked out of you, and what is asked from you. Coming to your prelims parts, when it comes to your prelims questions. In prelims, the syllabus is straightforward, guys. The art part, in art part, there are two types: performing arts, visual arts. In the performing arts, you basically see content like classical dances, Indian music, Indian theater, Indian cinema. These are performing, Indian puppetry. When it comes to the visual arts are those which you see, you observe, and you analyze, understand, or entertain. Painting, sculptures, architectures. These. Now, when it comes to the culture part, language, literature, religion, festivals, fairs, those. There is, however, a caution of warning which I give to students, particularly certain parts of art and culture can be a little controversial. Like, for example, secularism is a challenge to the unity of India, or India is a land of cultural pockets. These type of questions have come in mains. Please understand, you're writing UPSC, CSC exam. So at any level, your personal opinion or your mindset is completely irrelevant, completely unwelcome if you can't substantiate with absolute support or substantiate with examples. If as long as you can't substantiate with examples, don't try to give any kind of opinions in these. Like, for example, religion. While you have to be extremely neutral when you're writing certain answers in UPSC, CSE, particularly with art and culture. Religion questions, don't, because there may be questions which may come a little controversial, which may look to you in a first amount controversial. You need to be absolutely neutralist in this approach. No opinions in art and culture, particularly culture part, no opinions, absolutely no opinions. Your personal opinions, even if it is substantiated by an example, are unwelcome here. That is a pattern which we have observed. Even if you have a substantial historian or a substantial bigger historian who's supporting your particular, like, for example, UNDA or JN Mehta have been quite controversial in some of their approaches to, say, Hinduism, or DD Kosambi. Don't. Even if you have, don't try to give any particular type of opinions. Ek mindset, hamesha keep yourself ready. With art and culture, these answers are not two sides of a coin. So the answers here don't have a yes and a no. Answers here can be a little vague, little slightly yes to a slightly no, or slightly no to a slightly yes. That kind of answers have to be the middle approach. When it comes to the architecture part, architecture is very, very important in your mains. Most questions, almost every year over the last 6 years, if you observe, every year has had one or two architecture questions, at least one or two. In almost every question, they do ask you specific architectural features or specific architectural patterns, or try to connect it with your history and say why this particular architectural feature developed. Or there are theories like, there is a question which came like um, architecture was used as a tool of propaganda by many kingdoms. Like, for example, Cholas used Indian architecture as a tool of temple making, as a tool of their propaganda to show the greatness of the India of the kings. So that's the reason why Rajarajeshwara temple actually also has his own sort of Rajaraja Chola name. So similarly with Vijayanagar architecture, there might be questions like that as well. So the depth part is very important when it comes to mains. Art and culture mein, particularly in the culture part, use a greater depth, not just the width, not just the aerial content or not just the type of topics that you know, but also how depth you know about the topic. That's very, very important. Naturally, a question might be coming in your mind by this time is that, sir, where or how much should I study? Or where should I study these from? For music, for dances, for say art parts, you can definitely refer to CCRT, Center for Cultural Resources and Training book. Their website is there. Entire information, all the content is there on their website. This is also selective reading. For the culture part, you can definitely refer to the old NCRTs. Old NCRTs give you a good amount of information about the societal features, cultural features, the cultural patterns, architectural features, philosophies, those. For the others, which is the miscellaneous topics like fairs and festivals, etc., you will also definitely have to refer to you can refer to NIOS, National Institute of Open Schooling series of books. Now, there is also the core art part, and we also have a parallel folk art, folk culture, and folk heritage, which is slightly I connect it slightly to the tribal part of the rural India part. That becomes a major challenge because there are greater amount of facts which you need to remember when it comes to the folk art or folk traditions or folk cultures. In the folk art, folk cultures, you need to go through in depth with the syllabus, with the subject, learn a lot, mug up a lot, by heart, a lot of tribes, tribal names, state festivals, etc. Now, how to do this? This is something I suggest to all the students. Now, this will help you in other subjects as well. See, we do have 28 states. Take a book, say 100 pages book, three pages for one state, 3 pages for one state. State name, state symbol, state festival, state tribe. If there is a, like for example, say state of Telangana. The state of Telangana has particularly state festival called Batukama, flower festival. Just 2 lines. But what is Batukama? Flower festival, synonymous with Dashara of rest of India. I mean, while rest of India celebrates Dashara, the people of Telangana celebrate Batukama. Similarly, state of Tamil Nadu, Pongal, synonymity of Pongal. What is Pongal about? What is Puttandu? What is Pongal? Or Tej in Haryana, Punjab, that section. Why? What's the speciality of it? Which month? Calendar, Shaka calendar or Gregorian calendar, which month? Shravan Mas or Mrugashira Mas or whichever month it comes. Note that festival, the tribe which is synonymously associated with that festival, state flower. Start with this, but do this one day, one state. In 1 month, you will have your own sort of, I call it culture atlas. You will have your own culture atlas with your own information. And remember, I told you to read 3 pages for it. So 1 page, you will have the information. The other 2 pages are for you for the next 10 months. That suppose something is happening in state of Telangana, or state of Haryana, or state of Odisha, state of Bihar, or state of Maharashtra. So once you get that current affairs, you update. You update. Somebody's got Padma Award from Maharashtra, add it. Somebody's got, say, Bharat Ratna Award, add. What is the award for? Why is it for? So, Ant mein, by the time of 10 months, you will have your own atlas. This is the only way for you to make a book rather than relying on any specific, you can say, prescribed book, because the prescribed books are themselves very extremely static, whereas art and culture, in the exam point of view, is extremely dynamic. Indian art and culture is actually extremely dynamic. It's not static, where you take one book, start reading it, and finish it off. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Then writing, drawing are very important when it comes to mains questions of architecture, mains questions of sculptures. If you write and draw, it helps you a lot. And lastly, before I take doubts from you, lastly, previous year questions. At any cost, please do not ignore the previous year questions of UPSC CSE for art and culture. Indian art and culture does have a lot of repetition, just like Indian history. You got a lot of questions which are repeated, which keep coming again and again and again and again. So, don't avoid. It's extremely important for you to keep that in mind. Previous year questions, you need to finish off. Now, how I suggest students to prepare for, say, next 10 months. Take art part, study art. Art is not connected to your history. Finish off. Then prepare your history. So in your history, you get the chronology, you get the kings, kingdoms, dynasties, Raja, Maharaja, contribution, society, polity, economic history, all that you come. Once that part is done, do the culture part. So once you're reading culture, you can keep on connecting to why, say, specific behavioral pattern happens. Or say, for example, why there is a growth of suppose there is this main question says, why there was a revival of Brahmanism during the Gupta period, but not during the post-Maurya period. So to understand this, you first need to know what was the society in post-Maurya, what was the society in Gupta, what was the society in Maurya. And only then you will be able to understand what is Brahmanism, why there was a revival of Brahmanism, and that too why Hinduism, as in the religion part, why Hinduism actually took the Puranic path, not the Vedic path. You will only understand that part once you know entire base of history. So to study art and culture, your history, culture part, history will be your foundation, that the base pillars that you have to study in the beginning. So first, finish off art. Then we do history. Then we do the culture part, which will include also the visual art part, which will include architecture and religion and philosophy and literature, language, national language issue and all that. Then in the final, we do the heritage part. Heritage is also exactly purely like factual stuff. Heritage is more like, those match the following type of questions do come from heritage section of the syllabus, which is, say, Firozabad glass bangles or Bidri craft or GI tags, connecting GI tags of the connecting locations. All that information comes from this particular part of the syllabus, this section. Okay. Now, as I said, your prescribed books are NIOS, Center for Cultural Resources and Training, and some you can buy one of those Tata McGraw-Hill books for your own sake, but it won't actually suffice in its full. So unlike history, unlike other subjects, with art and culture, there is no specific one book which I can say, okay, you buy this book, you study this book, and you're done. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Now, if you have any doubts or any questions, you can definitely ask me. And contribution wise, guys, mains may you do get 2 questions in GS1 from Indian art and culture, about 24 marks, 12 and a half, 12 and a half, 24 marks. I'm telling bare minimum general. And in prelims, you do get about 12 to 15 questions. Because generally what happens, I mean, what we have observed is about 22 questions are coming from history, art and culture combined. Only art and culture get about 10 to 12 questions. So that's about 20 marks in your prelims. Sorry, 24 to 25 marks in prelims. About same 24, 25 marks in mains from your GS1. So well, if you have any questions, you can definitely pull me across.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
I think almost we have covered all the areas, but there are some doubts which I'd like to ask on behalf of the students
Yes, sir.
with respect to the art and culture. Though they are studying so many hours, but in the preliminary examination, they are asking some kind of terminologies in which are not known to everyone. Even they don't even know the sources. So, what kind of sources that they should refer? Even some questions, even to the level of optional. Even optional student, they find it very difficult. So, can you please tell us that how we can solve that type of questions?
So see, in fact, even for UPSC, the source of that question is from newspaper.
Fine.
Most, like for example, I'll take an example of history, sir. There was a question about Rukmabai case in 1884, 2 years
Yes.
back.
Yes, sir.
Brilliant question.
Yes.
The conjugal rights case.
Yes, sir.
That year, conjugal rights was mentioned in Indian Express newspaper on one side corner.
Yes, sir.
So, other than that, there is only one book which is mentioned, Rishita Banerjee's book, which is basically part of a 7-volume Cambridge University publications book. Nobody studies that book. Nobody studies that book. It's too complicated. So, with this part, with every year, 1 or 2 terminology questions will come, which are extremely strange, extremely rare. There is only 2 ways to answer this, sir. Number 1, current affairs and newspaper, because even UPSC has sourced it from newspaper. And if they don't know the question at all, the best thing is to just leave it like that. The problem students are doing is they're trying to guess something which is not even guessable, because with art and culture, most questions in art and culture, either you know or you don't know. There is no midway. There is no guesswork. There is no plan work. There is no smart guessing. Nothing works here. Either we've done that, or you've studied that in your current affairs part, or in your syllabus, or you don't know. When it comes to those rare terminologies, either we know or we don't know. If you know, that's only because you've done your proper current affairs newspaper. And newspaper wise helps a lot in UPSC, particularly for art and culture, sir. Students feel this strange because they are reading art and culture from a book, not from a newspaper.
Actually, as it was told by Sujata Menon, you are also just acknowledging the same thing. History is not the history, it is a current affairs related things which one should remember. Then only they can solve most of the questions.
That's only way, sir.
Yes, yes. So, but students, they used to give importance for the economic current affairs and environment current affairs, but they used to forget to read the current affairs related with the art and culture and history. But that is where the most of the questions that is reflecting. So, rightly you have pointed out. Sir, with respect to the answer writing in the mains examinations, there are some questions which reflects almost on the same area. But sometimes even with respect to the world history, they are not at all asking any questions. So what is your opinion, sir, actually, whether they should focus only on the previous year questions or the topics which are asked repeatedly in the previous years, or they should also focus on the other areas in the art and culture, sir?
Sir, see, with architecture, like for example, take architecture part, continuously 5 years onwards, there's always been a question, architecture, and that too specifically architecture of the post-Maurya period.
Yes, sir.
Now, see, the way I see it is UPSC is trying to create a pattern for 5 years.
Yes, sir.
We all fall into the pattern of the trap.
Yes.
And the 6th year, there is a complete overturn. So this is basically a tug of war going on between UPSC and the aspirant.
Yes.
So there is actually no pattern.
Yes.
Just because it has been asked 5 times, it doesn't mean it will be asked the 6th time, or it doesn't mean it will not be asked the 6th time.
Yes.
Like in the last 6 years, sir, as you said about world history, in the last 6 years, there's been only one question about World War II last year. Not the one, before one.
Yes.
Now, what students have done now is their interest or their focus on world history has come down. Either they've sort of given it up, or they do just light preparation. It's like a ticking time bomb. The day UPSC gets to know this, and UPSC does get to know this, they'll put a bombshell of 3 questions. 2016, they did this, sir. Decolonization, Singapore Resolution 1978 question was asked. Nobody knew that question because nobody is studying decolonization. We never took decolonization to that extent. So everybody gave it up. Even people of history optional gave it up. So what I am trying to say is, don't try to create a pattern, particularly with this part, with art and culture part. Literature, architecture must be studied. Yes, the question may come as, sir, then it is too vague, too much to study. Then I still say, take the newspaper. Suppose if there has been something which has been coming continuously, please understand, there's going to be a question on that. Like, for example, UNESCO or say heritage. Like this year, heritage as a concept has been an extremely important, sir. Because in Hyderabad, in Telangana, in Ahmedabad, there's been multiple places where local governments have destroyed heritage buildings for the sake of expansion and urbanization and all that. Same way, UNESCO has given us 2 sites on World Heritage Site list. So these both makes the word heritage more a prominent aspect. So the question may never come as elaborate heritage or what is heritage. UPSC is going more dynamic. They're going more like heritage is an important aspect of civilization, or more that type of dynamism is very much required, sir. So don't try to get in. I suggest students not to get into a particular pattern. Just because something is asked, it doesn't mean it will be asked.
Any other inputs you would like to give it to the aspirants, those who are not at all preparing the history part, and they'll be giving importance to the other areas? And there are some aspirants I know very well. They'll play the game, but finally they will end up in multiple failures. So I need some inputs, because they have not developed the interest in the subject. So they will omit certain areas, but these are all the areas where they can easily score. Any way to develop some kind of interest in these kind of things?
Sir, see, for this, I tell all students, I tell only one thing. So every year I keep getting students who come and say, sir, I don't like ancient India. I don't like art and culture. I always say, shadi nahi karna. Padna. It's a syllabus. UPSC itself has not given us an option saying either read art and culture or read ancient India. UPSC says read. Done. Number 1. Number 2, this is out of my experience with different people I've spoken, I get, sir. UPSC knows exactly what subjects students are not studying.
Correct.
UPSC knows this. It's very simple, sir. They go to 4 bookshops in Delhi, 4 bookshops in Hyderabad, and find out which books students are buying. You'll get to know what books students are studying. So UPSC knows what content to avoid in the prelims and mains.
Yes.
It's a very simple aspect, sir. So students, there is only one advice. You don't have a choice. If you're not studying, the other 3 lakh people are studying. You're the one who's losing it. There is nothing to like or dislike. There is a syllabus. There is a question. You need to read the syllabus. You need to answer the question. Done. आप नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो बाकी 2 लाख तो पढ़ रहे हैं. I mean, it's a very simple logic, sir. Here, we are at war. So there is no choice of selection, because we in colleges, we are trained in that way, sir. You don't like it, you leave it. You cover it in other subjects, etc. But here, UPSC is planned the paper in such a beautiful way that everything matters, every part matters.
You're right. You're right. Yes, sir. Any other inputs you would like to share to our students, sir?
Sir, I always suggest students, make your own notes. Students have to make their own notes. I mean, I am somebody who's been consistent, particularly with art and culture. I've been against using a ready-made material because art and culture is an extremely dynamic content. So what is fact today may not, it's like IR. Just like IR, sir. IR, you can't actually read IR from a single book. It will be criminal to actually read IR from a single book and say, I'll pass. Because every day things change. Same with art and culture, sir. I suggest students use that register model where they take one book, 28 states, 3 pages per state, start writing, start everything noting, state tribe, state festival, state events, or any religion particular aspect about that state. Similarly for religions, one book, one small book for religion, one small book for cinema. Like for example, best cinema, first talkie, first movie. This is something, and every time they're writing, sir, every writing is equivalent to reading 10 times. Writing once is equivalent to reading 10 times. It will remember, they'll remember that in their subconscious mind. And here, sir, lastly, with art and culture, we are only required to recollect what we know, not remember, because we are not a hard disk. We are not a computer. We can't remember everything.
Sir,
recollection is important.
There is no one particular resource to refer for art and culture, as you said, but there must be some resources for each and every area of art and culture. Can you please suggest as a resource person for, as a best and one of the best resource persons who is available in India? You would have referred so many textbooks for art and culture. Can you please say some of the resources which are available for art separate, architecture separate, and heritage separate? Please, can you please give some ideas?
Yes, sir. Sir, with art part, which is performing arts, visual arts, CCRT, Center for Cultural Resources and Training. Okay. Yes. For the culture part, wonder that was India? Bhashan, sir. That is culture part, good. For heritage, NCRT year 11.
Oh, good.
NCRT year 11. And all of this, sir, the entire book must not be studied. It's very selective. The syllabus paper has to be there parallel whenever you're studying. So if the syllabus is asking classical dances, how many of them, who gives it, what is the status, what are the dances, what are the features of each dances? That's it. CCRT website will have a lot of other information. For our exam, not required.
Yes.
So art, CCRT. For culture, Bhasham. For heritage, NCRT.
Very good. Very good.
For current affairs, sir, annual Ministry of Art and Culture annual report.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Annual Ministry of Art and Culture releases an annual report. The PDF will be available in their website every year. That's more, that comes somewhere about January, February, sir. Perfect book. So everything we studied will get added with that.
Sir, I am seeing most of the students, they used to refer only one book, that is class 11th book alone, they'll refer for art and culture.
Yes.
And very rarely I am seeing a student who will refer all these things. Everyone is behind one particular material which will be available in the market. Just like that, they will go. But today, you have given excellent idea to score very good marks both in the prelims as well as in the mains. I'm sure this session would have benefited our students like anything, and we are hoping for the best session in the upcoming weeks, because that's going to be a kind of module where you are going to handle the particular area. And I'm sure definitely, because you are such a wonderful teacher, I have heard a lot about you. And now I'm very happy that we have got such a wonderful resource person with the KingMakers IAS Academy to teach, to inspire, and to educate, particularly with respect to art and culture. Thank you so much, sir, for your association.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.